Hey, what's up guys, Imp7 here, and in this video I'm going to be doing a summary on the second story in Frights book 10, which is called Sea Bonnies. If you haven't already, check out my summary on Friendly Face. As I said in the last video, you can, if you also want to read the full story, you could buy it on Amazon or another website or something, or you can find it in a store or whatever. Or if you don't want to buy the book yourself, you can check out Ozone's channel since he does audiobooks for the stories. As always, after the summary, I'm going to discuss any lore that may be in the story if I do find stuff, but without further ado, let's just get straight into this. So the main character of the story is Mott. The story starts with him at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. He's kind of confused as to why he still likes this place, but he thinks it's just a fun place to be. He gives some tickets to his younger brother named Roy so he can beat this kid named Ben in air hockey. Ben's not really an important character, he never really appears again. He's just mentioned a little bit. Roy is also 7 and friends with the birthday boy, which is kind of a red flag for me, but it probably doesn't mean anything since it doesn't affect anything later on. But yeah, then a song starts playing, and after that a girl named Teresa calls out to Mott, and he just goes to sit with her, and they talk. The story also misspells her name, which is kind of funny at one point, but yeah. And yeah, they just talk a little bit, tell each other who their brothers are, because both their brothers are friends with the birthday boy. Roy kind of got his... It's also mentioned that Rory kind of got his features from his mom, while Mott got them from his dad. Which is interesting, and reminded me of how Michael looks like his father. But, yeah, just thought I'd mention that. He's also 13, the same age Edward was in Friendly Face. And also, Mott is apparently good looking, and a lot of girls liked him, like Teresa. Mott joked that his brother was left on their doorstep by sea monkeys to Teresa, and then Rory ran up to the table for more tickets right as that happened, and he heard him say that. So yeah, he runs up to the table to get more tickets, and Mott gladly gave them to him so Rory could go away and he could keep talking to Teresa. So they start talking about music and stuff until Roy showed up to announce that he won Sea Bonnies. I think they're just literal sea bunnies, but renamed as Bonnies just because it's Freddy's. And the package also had a bunch of stuff for you to grow your own for a few years. Mott and Teresa thought they were disgusting. Those heartless monsters. Like seriously, look how adorable they are. But apparently in this universe, sea bunnies just don't exist and Bonnies are just sea monkeys genetically engineered to look like Bonnie. Something else that interests me is that Rory has a goldfish named Fritz, which is the same name as the victim who possesses Foxy, as well as the fake name Michael uses in FNaF 2. Fritz, in the 4th closet, is also stated to have freckles, just like Rory does. And something interesting happens later on, which I'll get to then. So Rory and Mott talk to their mom about the sea bonnies and stuff. It's not really too important. So the process of hatching the eggs was kind of weird, so they had to wait a while before putting in the eggs, and Rory was kind of upset about that, but whatever. Rory also mentioned that he wants puppies and wonders when their pilot dad would be home and stuff, and Mott tells him to be more responsible, and and Rory just does everything Mott tells him not to do and doesn't do what he tells him to do. It's kind of funny. So Mott just takes him to bed, and they have a pillow fight because yes. Then we cut to a few days later on Monday after school. Mott just got home after he and his friends Lila and Nate worked on a science project. Nate's dad was Mott's doctor, and they had been friends since they were around 2, and their parents were also good friends. When he got home, Rory urged him to come to his room to see the sea bonnies had hatched. But they didn't look right. Quote from the book: "Although he had leaped away from the tank, Mott hadn't been able to pull his gaze from the disgusting things swimming in the goldfish tank. The sea bonnies had hatched, dozens of them. No, make that hundreds. They looked semi-translucent, fleshy, pale, bluish-purple rabbits with tiny black eyes and almost microscopic furry tentacles lining their bodies. From what Mott could tell, they appeared to propel themselves through the water using their misshapen rabbit ears." Well, that's just fantastic. Mott thought they were disgusting, but Rory likes them for some reason. When Rory put his hand on the tank, all the sea bonnies went to where his hand was. This kind of reminded me of that one scene in the Suicide Squad where King Shark makes friends with those thingies in the water, and they follow him around. Rory told Mott to apologize about like his thinking that the sea bonnies were disgusting and stuff, and Mott just laughed about it. But then after he laughed about it, all the sea bonnies moved and looked at him. Their mom walked in and Mott was forced to apologize. It's also mentioned that Rory is wearing a striped shirt, which reminds me of the bite victim, though it is different colors. The sea bunny started swimming around normally again. As Mott starts leaving the room, he hears someone saying his name and calling him a scaredy cat, but neither Rory or his mom had said anything. The sea bunnies went up to the glass to look at him again. Mott leaves the room and goes to his own, locking the door behind him. The next morning, Mott was looking for socks for Rory, and he was thinking about Teresa, and he heard the voice again, this time saying, "As if a girl would pay attention to you." And once again, the sea bunnies were looking at him. Rory came in and had found one of his socks, but not the other, blah, blah, blah. He goes to check if the socks got mixed up with his mom's. So, yeah, and the water in the fish tank was now looking like kind of choppy, and the sea bunnies were agitated all at once in the same way, like as a group. Later that day, Rory needed help writing a poem and needed Mott to help him in his room because he wanted to write the poem about the sea bunnies. And when he went in, he tried to point out how the sea bunnies were staring at him, but when he did, they moved around. Then they said he was easy to mess with in the whisper voice in Mott's head. Mott helped Rory with words that rhymed with love, and the sea bunnies whispered, "Stupid." Mott went to the bathroom to escape, and Rory told Mott to come back to see the poem. And when he did, Rory recited the poem, and the sea bunnies seemed to like it. Mott wanted to leave the room, so he brought Rory to go play video games. The next day, he considered telling his friends about the sea bunnies, but he knew they'd just laugh at him, and he also considered telling Teresa while he was talking to her, but in that conversation with her, he missed everything she said. He didn't want to tell her because he didn't think telling her the sea bunnies were whispering to him would be a good idea, and a good way to impress her. That night, Mott had to get Rory ready for bed. I can only imagine what he would be thinking in that moment. Yay! I also find it interesting that it's mentioned here that Rory likes to sleep with a Freddy plushie. He also has a pack of gum, but I don't really think that means much considering how many of these stories imply Mike is the older brother, so yeah, whatever. Especially since Step Closer it's mentioned like 6 times. Here it's mentioned once about a completely different character, so whatever. So Mott reads to Rory and does so loudly so he can try to drown out the whispers. Once Rory fell asleep, Mott began to leave the room until he heard the whispers and looked in the fish tank to see that the sea bunnies were attacking Fritz, the fish, and then he became blue and was basically being controlled by a bunch of sea bunnies. Mott came to the conclusion that the sea bunnies had eaten Fritz from the inside out and multiplied themselves to look like Fritz, which is very strange, but this is FNaF, so should I be surprised? No, I should not. So then the sea bunnies gathered to the end of the tank to look at Mott again. Then we cut to the next day where Mott decides that the sea bunnies had to be gone. He needed to find a way for Rory to be out of the house so he could dispose of them. So when Rory went with his friend Danny to walk his dog, Mott decided now was a good time. When he went and grabbed the tank, the sea bunnies seemed to be angry as if they knew what he was planning. He brought the fish tank down to the bathroom and poured the water and the sea bunnies into the toilet and flushed them all down. It's made clear that Rory sees the sea bunnies as his friends, which really reminds me of the FNaF War Bite Victims plushies, and it's also interesting to me that one name belonging to a missing child reappears in this story, Fritz, and Fritz is the victim who possesses Foxy. In FNaF 4, Mike rips off the Bite Victim's Foxy plush's head. I see this as being too similar to be a coincidence, but I don't know, it might be. Just wanted to mention that. Mott made up a story about why he got rid of the sea bunnies. He said he was trying to clean the fish tank, so he put them in a pot, but the steel poisoned them and killed them or whatever. Rory surprisingly didn't throw a tantrum, but instead cried and ran into his room, slamming and locking the door behind him. Mott did feel a little bit bad about it, and when Rory finally came out of his room, he told Mott, quote from the book, "You're not my brother." Jesus. That night, Mott had a nightmare. Interesting. An older brother having a nightmare after messing things up with his brother. Interesting, is it not? Alright, whatever. Anyway, he dreamed that he was eating cereal for breakfast, but the food in his milk changed from cereal to sea bunnies. He woke up and ran to the bathroom. He chugged water, but the water felt weird in his throat, almost as if there was something in it. But when he looked, there was nothing there. In the morning, he had really bad stomach cramps and couldn't even get up. His mom came in to make sure he was up, and he told her he had cramps, so she went to get something for his stomach. But then he heard the whispers again. Quote from the book, "Wuss. Can't handle swallowing just one? What do you think 100 would feel like? 200? 2,000? Okay then. Interesting." And then they say, "Serves you right. Every bad deed gets punished." This to me further proves the bite victim's involvement in FNaF 4, most likely being the one to torture Mike, which is what the gameplay really most likely is. He also hears the word stupid, guilty, and murderer a few times. A few hours later, he still wasn't feeling better, so we called Dr. T, who's Nate's dad, the doctor. His receptionist, Claudia, picked up, and she gave the phone to Dr. T, who told him Claudia would be over to pick him up in about 15 minutes. He was brought to Dr. T's office, and Dr. T told him that they were going to draw some blood to see if he had an infection, and also do a test to see if it was a gallbladder issue. Mont thought his stomach was starting to look lumpy, which gave me in the flesh vibes. Later, Dr. T told them everything looked normal, so it most likely wasn't anything serious, but they still needed to get the blood work done. He told Mont to wait outside, and he would give him a ride home a little later. Once he was taken home, he went to sleep and managed to sleep for over 12 hours. He turned on his lamp and saw a bottle of water and crackers on his nightstand. He drank some water and ate some crackers. Then he realized that the sea bonnies had eaten Fritz from the inside out and wondered, what if they did the same to Mott? His mom came in to check on him and told him he was staying home again today. When she left, Mott went back to sleep for a little longer and woke up to find the whispers weren't whispers anymore, but rather shouts. And now his stomach started trembling, almost as if there was something inside him moving around. He called Dr. T again, and he said he would bring him over for a CAT scan. Instead of worrying his mom, he left a note saying he was feeling better and went out for some fresh air, and the scan showed abnormalities in his stomach, lungs, intestines, and his heart. Dr. T showed Mott images of his insides, which revealed grayish-white bunny-shaped clumps with dark eyes inside him. Okay then, so it's like that, huh? So the sea bonnies are inside Mott, which is not surprising. Dr. T thought the clumps could be interference with the scan and thought they should try it again the next day, but Mott revealed that he knew what the scan had picked up. He told Dr. T the whole story and how he thought the sea bonnies were eating him from the inside out. After Mott finished explaining, Dr. T simply just said, "It's time to call your mom." Later, we see Mott sitting in his room and his mom seeming to have decided to deal with him the next day. Mott felt an itch on his arm that wouldn't go away, and when he looked at it, he saw a lump moving under his skin. He felt so itchy and scratched so hard that he broke the skin, and through the blood on his arm and the torn skin, Mott was able to see the tail of a sea bonnie before it disappeared under the skin. Mott's skin was also beginning to turn purple. You can see where this is going, right? You can see what this is paralleling, right? You can see what this story is basically confirming, right? He got up and looked in the mirror to see sea bonnies moving around his eyes. He realized he needed to get to Dr. T, so he sneaks out his window and leaves. On his way, Mott scratched his arm so hard that he tore off what he thought was flesh, but it was actually sea bonnies. He threw them on the ground, but then they came together and began chasing him. Yay! He ran but ended up tripping and falling. The sea bonnies went up him and reattached to his arm. He sat there and screamed. He didn't think he would survive. Well, at least he knows that much. He tried wiping his eyes, but that just tore off more, which reattached again as well. He continued running. He made it to the clinic, but he began to fall apart even more, and his running slowed. This scene kind of reminded me of the way Mike walks in Sister Location. Mott tried tearing pieces off himself to get the sea bonnies off of him, but they kept reattaching. It started getting more and more difficult for Mott to think of his family and friends, as if like his brain cells were being eaten too. When he finally made it to the door to the clinic, Mott's hand disintegrated. And then we cut to Claudia's perspective, the receptionist at the clinic, and she was hearing weird noises coming from outside. Those noises, of course, being Mott's body falling apart. She decided to look outside where she saw Mott. He looked strange though. She asked him if he was okay, and he said it was a nice day and everyone should be outside. That's really weird, considering it's pouring outside. So then Mott walks away, and that's where the story ends. So, let's just get to the lore now. I don't think there's much else to talk about besides the lore. And the lore in this story is honestly really simple to explain. It's yet another Mike Bro story, just like Step Closer, Pizza Kid, and Blackbird. Mott is simply an older brother parallel. That's pretty clear, and I don't think I have to explain much more, as I've pretty much already explained throughout the video. But the fact is, the story is really good at proving Mike Bro. The main premise of the story is a Foxy Bro parallel with stuff related to Freddy's inside him, and eventually turns purple. Sound familiar? It should. It's the exact plot of Sister Location. And to further that, the same Foxy Bro parallel has nightmares after he screws things up with his brother, and since it's simply a fact that the FNaF 4 protagonist is Michael Afton, that also proves Foxy Bro is the FNaF 4 protagonist, which makes Foxy Bro Michael. So simply, the Foxy Bro parallel goes through nightmares just like Michael, and a body snatch just like Michael, which turns him purple just like Michael. There's not very many theories that I consider factual, but with Blackbird, Pizza Kit, and especially this story, I honestly think Mike Bro is kind of factual at this point. But let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Yeah, I can do English. Yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Did you like this story? I definitely did. It's not my favorite, but it's pretty good. Yeah. Let me know in the comments if you liked it, though. I still have 2 more summaries to go, those being for the 3rd story, Together Forever, and the 10th Stitch Wraith. I can't speak today. And the 10th Stitch Wraith epilogue. So stay tuned for those videos coming soon, and I'll see you all in the next video. Impulse7 out, and peace.